out. The Attorney General has made a decision based on a possible criminal act surrounding the Alton Sterling case. Now, where do we go from here? First, my continued sympathy and prayers go out to the Sterling family, who have been waiting for justice and closure for nearly 2 years. My thanks, appreciation, and gratitude go to every citizen of this community who have demonstrated patience and resilience during this unfortunately lengthy bureaucratic process. Yet, during this process, as your Mayor President, I have not been sitting idly by. First, I met with community members and law enforcement officials, which led to the implementation of use of force policy in the standards of BRPD. Secondly, with the assistance of the Metro Council, I appropriated money to purchase body cameras for every Baton Rouge police officer. Lastly, I hired a new police chief through a community-led process to bring us into the 21st century era of policing. As mayor, it is my responsibility to ensure that our law enforcement officers follow established police procedure. That's where the Baton Rouge Police Department investigation will now begin and soon conclude with a swift and thorough investigation. I understand the difficult and dangerous situations officers encounter on a daily basis. We all thank them for their service to the community. I am directing the chief to immediately apply those accepted standards to this situation and take the necessary appropriate action. I promise all citizens that we will now act swiftly and accordingly. I am confident that the chief will act expeditiously and fairly in his own investigation. The people of this parish have been civil in reaction to a long and frustrating process from federal and state authorities. And now, of course, citizens of this parish have every right to peacefully and publicly protest. Calmly and legally exercising First Amendment rights is always acceptable in this parish, but acts of violence and lawlessness are not. The Attorney General's announcement closes another chapter. It is not the last word. I will now turn it over to Chief Murphy Paul, who will communicate next steps. But before I do that, let me say this. Since assuming office as Mayor President, I have focused on ideals for justice and principles of equity for all of our citizens. We must all work together to build the kind of Baton Rouge that we aspire to. I have heard your concerns. I have read your emails. I've received your phone calls and your comments on the street. My commitment to you is that I will continue to build a progressive, inclusive, and just community. I will remain focused, vigilant, and undeterred in that effort. I ask for everyone to be prayerful as we move forward, and I thank all of the citizens for your continued support. Now I will turn it over to Chief of Police Murphy Paul.
Good morning. I'm Chief Murphy Paul of the Baton Rouge Police Department, and we are in receipt of the Attorney General's report. As part of the administrative process, we will review the Attorney General's report. We have also consulted with those involved in the state and federal investigation who have facilitated our review of voluminous video and documentary evidence from their respective investigations. Today, I would like to inform on the next steps concerning the Alton Sterling shooting investigation. First, when the United States Attorney investigated the incident, they were trying to determine if there were civil rights violations in their investigation. Second, the Louisiana Attorney General's office examined state laws and determined if our officers violated any state law. Now it's the Baton Rouge Police Department's responsibility to continue the administrative review into the incident. The police officers are entitled to due process under the Constitution and also under the Law Enforcement Bill of Rights. The officers have to be properly notified and have an opportunity to be heard prior to any discipline being administered. That's the process. We will continue our administrative review into the actions and behavior of our officers during this incident. Our examination will determine if any policies and procedures were violated by our officers during the incident. We will look at decisions that were made during the incident, and we will apply that behavior to our policy and procedures. We cannot include our investigation until a disciplinary hearing has been completed. And it is our goal to have that process completed by Friday of this week. We have reached out to the attorneys of both officers involved in this incident, and we're in the process of scheduling a disciplinary hearing. Once both of those hearings have been concluded, we will schedule a press conference to inform the public of the decision that I made concerning their conduct. Upon conclusion of that press conference, we will release all information allowed by our public records laws. This will include video and audio footage from the body camera of Officer Salamone. This will include video and audio footage from the body camera of Officer Lake. This will include car camera video footage. This will include the 911 call. This will include video footage from the SSS convenience store. We will make this information readily accessible to the public after the disciplinary hearing has concluded. We're asking our community for just a little more patience so that we can conclude our administrative process this week. There are parts of our community who disagree with the findings of the federal investigation. And there are parts of the community who disagree with the findings of the Attorney General's conclusion. But there are also parts of our community that think that the federal government and the Attorney General made the right decision in their conclusion. And when I make a decision as your chief of police, there will be parts of the community who think I got it wrong. And there are going to be parts of the community who believe I made the right decision. But there are also going to be police officers who wear this uniform every day and protect and serve us. And police officers from all around the country, and even some of our law enforcement leaders here in Louisiana, who are going to think whatever decision I make, that it was the wrong decision. But there are also going to be police officers who believe I made the right decision, who are going to support us as we move forward as a progressive police agency. So we understand, no matter what the decisions are, that there are parts of our community that is hurting. So we're asking you to keep our community in your prayers, because we know that this cloud that's over our community has to come to a conclusion so that we can begin the healing process. Please keep us in your prayers.
Are there any questions?
Have y'all seen the body camera footage, and if so, what was your reaction to it?
I have not seen the body camera footage.
Chief?
I'm going to hold all comments relating to the administrative investigation until we conclude it this week.
Chief, can you define what the disciplinary hearing is?
So the disciplinary hearing is myself and my 3 deputy chiefs that are now appointing in those positions with a representation from legal. The employee who is under investigation will also be there with his attorney or a representative from the union of his choice, of his choosing. So we listen. It's the employee's opportunity to tell his or her side of the story.
But you've already reviewed all the evidence that the Attorney General has reviewed. I mean, you're not starting from scratch.
I have not. When the Attorney General's report was made public today, that's when we saw it also. That is correct.
So you'll be able to complete the administrative hearing within 4 days. You're confident of that?
That is correct. We've already reached out to the attorneys of the accused officers.
Do you have a scheduled hearing yet?
We will not be revealing a hearing date even if we confirm one, but we will have it concluded by this week.
It's closed to the public?
It is closed to the public. That is correct.
The AG's report from today has use of force experts that say that there were policy violations from the officers. Can you detail some of those policy violations?
I will not be discussing an ongoing administrative investigation. I have not had an opportunity to read the Attorney General's findings at this time.
So you're saying it would be your department that ultimately will release all of the unreleased video evidence, not the Attorney General?
That is correct. I will be releasing all of the evidence that I previously mentioned concerning this incident.
You may have indicated that you'd like to see the officer terminated. Do you stand by that still, Salomone?
I am not one to waver on what I have said in the past. I will stand by what I have said. I have not seen any video. What I did have was a very thorough conversation with the Department of Justice, as you well know. Not only did I have that conversation, but there are a number of citizens who were invited to talk with the Department of Justice and who were given that same information. That prompted my request for a meeting with the Department of Justice last year. As I said then, what the Department of Justice shared with me was very disturbing. While I have not seen the video footage, the information that was verbally communicated to me based on the information that DOJ had certainly was disturbing. I have supreme confidence that that Chief Paul will go through this process expeditiously, swiftly, that he will be thorough, and that we will finally have closure to this issue.
Mayor, the family of Alton Sterling and the attorney said today that they were going to take this fight to the ballot box and hold all elected officials accountable. I'm not sure what with respect to you, but they mentioned the mayor, the Metro Council. Any reaction to that? And I asked them what they meant, and they said, well, they're going to get voter registration drives going, and they intend to get people out to put people in office that will support justice.
I will say this. First of all, let me reiterate my continued prayers and my sympathy for the Sterling family. They have been through a lot in the past nearly 2 years. I think advocacy is a wonderful thing. I think that they encouraging individuals to register to vote is vitally important. I think that encouraging people to take their battle to the ballot box is realistic, and I believe it is a good move. And so I applaud their decision and their encouragement to hold elected officials accountable. And I believe, while I did not hear directly their statement, I believe they're talking about all elected officials. And as we know, there are 3 branches of government. And so the judicial branch, the executive branch, and the legislative branch. And so advocacy, engagement in the political process is vitally important. And I would hope that individuals would heighten their participation. And I thank the Sterling family for encouraging that.
They described it as a political decision. Do you agree with that? The AG's report.
I have not seen the AG's report, so I couldn't comment on that. I think that our focus, though, as a community, as a city, as a parish, has to be on justice and equity in all of our decisions. That should be a part of the fabric of the Baton Rouge community. And that is something, while I have often been criticized for saying it over and over again, I'm going to continue to say it, because that's what great communities are made out of. Being inclusive, making sure that we have equity and justice, not just for some, but for everyone. And so that is the kind of foundation that I have been trying to lay as mayor president, to be a part of the fabric of our community. And you know the good thing about that? When that happens, everyone wins, regardless of the color of their skin, regardless of the zip code that they live in. When we create a community built on equity and justice, everyone wins.
Chief, when you're going through this process, if I can ask, one, when do you plan on having that press conference? Is that on Friday or is that early next week? And what are you looking at when you're looking at these materials? What is your matrix in that one?
We're going to be looking at policy and procedure and the behavior of our officers, and if their behavior was consistent with the policy and procedures of the police department.
And the timing of the press conference, when will that be?
We will announce that at the appropriate time.
Thank you. Appreciate it. No more questions.